Hello everyone, good morning. Today is 26th of August and welcome to the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So guys, today we are a little bit late as in the morning there was I think some technical issue. The Wi-Fi was not working and then I had the class. So guys, anyhow, let's start with the newspaper analysis for the today. Now guys, in the today's video we are going to discuss the entire analysis of the Hindu newspaper. We will discuss the articles with the background as well as the way forward. Meanwhile, please download this explainer PDF from the Telegram channel. You can follow this particular explainer PDF along with the newspaper so that you can even more better effectively understand all these particular articles. Now let's start. First of all guys, we'll be taking up the overview of the entire newspaper, and in the overview we'll understand basically all the issues that have been there. Now, so first of all, here we have the page number 1 of the Hindu. This is a Delhi edition. Now the first article talks about the suspense in the Jharkhand as the Chief Minister Soren may face disqualification. So we'll see this particular article, the Office of Profit and all those particular issues we'll be seeing. Then guys, moving on, after that, the malware found in 5 Pegasus, the malware found in the 5 Pegasus panel. Okay, I think there is some issue. Okay guys, are you able to see this particular screen? Okay, are you able to now? Just give me 1 minute. I think this particular screen is not working. Okay, just give me 1 minute. Okay, so now it's there. So here we can see the page number 1 of the Hindu newspaper, and guys, here the first article talks about the disqualification. So here the concept of Office of Profit we are going to discuss. Then malware found in the 5 phones, no proof it in the Pegasus, it's Pegasus panel. Now guys, basically what has happened last year, there was an allegation that was made that the government has procured the Pegasus Spyware from an Israeli firm, that is the NSO, and that particular Pegasus Spyware has been used to spy on the opposition members, on some of the judges, some of the activists, etc. So for that particular thing, some of the mobile phones were given for the investigation. So a panel has provided that the malware has been found on the 5 phones out of the 29 phones that were there, but specifically Pegasus has not been found. So this is something which has been provided by this particular committee. Now you don't need to go too much into the detail that okay whose phone it was and all that. No. Then NDTV promotes a side ban on dealing in the share. So basically the Adani group has given a bid to purchase to buy the NDTV stakes. So that particular thing is being discussed. No need to go in this particular article. Supreme Court seeks Gujarat government's reply in the Bilkis Banu case. So guys, this Bilkis Banu case we have discussed just few days back in one editorial was also there. So the Bilkis Banu case, what happened? There were few people who were convicted because they had committed the murder as well as because they had raped. Now these people have now been released from the jail after 15 years. So a question is coming that whether this particular remission is justified or not. So again, a petition has been filed in the Supreme Court. So that particular matter is going on. However, with respect to the exam, there is nothing substance in this particular article. Then in the city section, MLAs are not for sale, advertisements, all these particular things are going on. Then guys, missing pot and unmissable caste divide. So basically guys, recently one incident happened where a young Dalit boy was killed as he was thrashed by the principal, and then the angle of the caste is coming. So the ground report from that particular angle is being discussed here. Fine, that what was the events that transpired and all those things. For exam, not important. Don't go in this particular article. Then we have Metro Place. It talks about the leisure, lifestyle and all those things. Then again, advertisements, etc. have been given. Political, regional news, fine, etc. are there. Not important for your UPSC examination. Guys, understand this particular thing that the art of identifying the newspapers is very important. Freebie is a judicial lead and a multi-layered issue. Fine. So guys, we'll see this particular article of freebie. So every day this particular article is coming. Then the tricolor campaign and notes from the past. Now guys, this particular article is talking about that how the RSS since its inception was opposed to the tricolor. Okay, and now this particular thing is going on. So the RSS history and all those things are going on. Now this happens to be a political article. So therefore for our examination, this article is not important. No need to go in this. Then guys, moving on, Rainbow of Hope. So recently, on the orders of a Madras High Court, the Tamil Nadu government has issued a list as how issued the list of the nomenclature for the LGBT communities. So we'll see this particular article. Then guys, after that, a perilous stalemate. So a communication line between Moscow and Kiev should be kept open. So guys, this particular Russia-Ukraine crisis is going on for so many of the months. It have extended for so many of the months. So how this particular thing needs to be resolved, and they needs to talk with each other. Then, should India change its policy onto the Rohingyas? So guys, with respect to the refugee issues as well as with respect to the GS paper number 2, we'll see this particular article. Then moving on, a crowded political landscape. Okay, so the testing ground of RS Praveen Kumar and YS Sharmila. Fine, not important for the examination. Now guys, in the today paper, we will be taking this particular data that has been given with respect to the bank privatization, because guys, from the past few days there is the speculation that the government might be privatizing some of the government public sector banks. So we'll see some of the data in this particular respect which could be important for your exam. Then the text and the context, Kerala gets it right. Okay, so basically the rainfall patterns etc have been discussed. Then why the space for singers is narrowing in the Tamil film music. Okay, so basically how the singers space is getting reduced. So Tamil film industry is being discussed. For exam, not important article. Fine. Then moving on. After that, no decision on yet on the polls. Farooq scheduled to elect Congress chief likely. Now all these political articles guys are not very much important for the examination. However, moving in this particular direction, there is one very important article that has come, that is Supreme Court to review the PMLA orders on the two of the aspects. So recently what happened, the Vijay Madanlal Chaudhary judgment came, and in this Vijay Madanlal Chaudhary judgment there was one very important decision that was given. So that particular decision will now be reviewed. We'll see this particular article. Okay, Congress flags government refusal to cooperate. Okay, once I'm released I want to meet people. So Marwai's Umar Farouk's interview has been given. Then moving on, labor codes empower workers PM. So we'll see this particular article with respect to the examination. Aircraft carrier Vikrant to be commissioned. Fine, we'll see the aircraft carrier Vikrant and all those issues related to that. Then guys, my statements twisted Gadkari, not important article for examination. Okay, CBI notice against TMC MLA, again political article, not important. India Bangladesh discuss water sharing issues. So guys, recently the 38 meeting of the Joint River Commission has held between the India and the Bangladesh, and they are talking about the Tista disputes, and they are making the efforts in this particular direction. So guys, there are many of the rivers that basically there are the rivers that are shared between the India and the Bangladesh, and in that capacity the Tista happens to be important river, and along with that many other rivers are also there. So for that particular thing we constitute this joint river commissions. Okay, so basically the joint river commissions, it has discussed many of the things lead, even including the smaller rivers. However guys, in this particular capacity much of the important thing has not come out of this particular article. Is it clear or not? Then moving on, business page, bank credit growth accelerated to 14.2%. We'll see this particular report by the Forex. After that, strong growth gives RBI room for rate increase. So basically guys, now what has happened in the 2020 and 2021, Reserve Bank of India was not able to increase the repo rate because the growth was important consideration. But over the period of time, inflation has come as we have not increased the interest rates. So in this particular capacity, now the interest rates are being increased by the RBI. Then moving on, China faces job crunch as lockdowns retard growth. Okay, so because guys, the China follows the zero COVID cases policy. Whenever any case comes, they go for a lockdown, and because of that particular thing, the growth has got impacted in the China. Then guys, Pak court bars police from arresting Imran Khan issue in the Pakistan is going on, not important for the examination. India's vote to allow Zelensky speech was not against Russia. So guys, basically in one of our resolution, now India has voted basically, and this particular vote is being called as the vote against the Russia. Okay, but basically we have allowed that Zelensky can make the speech. Okay, it is not specifically that India has condemned the Russia. Moving on, after that we have the sports page. Okay, so guys, that is all about this particular newspaper overview, and now let's discuss all the relevant articles one by one in the detail. Okay, now meanwhile guys, I'll again insist that please download this particular explainer PDF from the Telegram channel. Okay, the link for that channel is given in description box, so that you can better connect with the articles that I'm going to discuss. So today in the class we'll be starting with the GS quotation taken from the Fumzile Imlambo. Now, Pmla Mlambo has been the executive director of the UN Women. Pmla Mlambo has talked about the gender equality. She says that achieving gender equality is about disrupting the status quo, not negotiating it. So guys, what is a status quo? Status quo means a default condition or default state. So whatever condition is existing today, that is a status quo. So if we want to achieve the gender equality, we need to disturb, we need to disrupt, we need to altogether demolish the status quo that is existing. We don't need to necessarily negotiate it. So that is the idea that has been given by the Pmla Mlambo. So guys, we can use this particular idea in the answers related to the GS paper number 2, gender issues. GS paper number 2, gender issues, we can use this particular article. So that is all about it. And now let's move to the first article. Now, this particular article talks about suspense in Jharkhand as Chief Minister Soren may face disqualification. So guys, we'll see this particular thing, and we will also be understanding one very important topic, that is the topic of the Office of Prophet. Now, first of all, before going in this particular article, you need to understand that this article is going to be important for the GS paper number 2. GS paper number 2, issues related to the polity. GS paper number 2, issues related to the polity. So guys, first of all, let's understand that what has happened, and then we'll understand that what are the academic issues coming in this particular article. So basically, the Chief Minister of Jharkhand, Mr. Soren, there was an allegation that was made by the political parties, opposition political parties, that he has given himself a mining lease. He has given himself a mining lease when he was holding the portfolio of mines in the 2021. Now the opposition parties have made this particular allegation. After that, this particular matter was referred to the Election Commission of India. That Election Commission of India should study that whether Mr. Soren could be charged that he had violated the conditions of the Office of Prophet or not. Now the Election Commission of India is submitting its report. Is it clear or not? So guys, first of all, let's understand this entire issue. Now, before going in this particular article, I would like to give you some of a background, and this background is going to be very much important first of all. So let's take the background first. Now guys, the background goes like this, that suppose if there is an MP, suppose there is an MLA. So the MP and the MLA, they can act in different capacities at certain times. For example, let's take there is an MP, or let's say there is an MLA. They could be acting in the capacity of an executive. For example, an MP could be a minister also. MLA could be a minister at the level of a state. So they can act as the capacity of an executive. Now guys, when they are executive, at that point of a time, they will be performing many of the important responsibilities. For example, they might be heading some of the portfolio. For example, an MP can become a finance minister, an MP could be a minister of railways, he could be a minister of mines, or any such kind of a ministry. So as he is heading a portfolio, he need to make sure this particular thing, that all the powers that have been given to him, those powers are being used only for the public good and the public welfare. The power should not be used for one's own benefit. The power should not be used for one's own benefit. Why? Because then it will mean nothing but a kind of a indirect self-gratification. So this is one role. Then guys, the second role that comes here is that sometimes the MPs and MLAs, they might not be made as a minister, they might not be the part of executive, but they, let's say, they are simply in the parliament, or they are into the state legislative assembly, not the executive. They are simply the part of the legislature. They are the part of the legislature. Now in this particular capacity, it is the duty of the MPs and MLAs that they need to hold the government accountable for all their actions. Whatever government is doing, they need to hold the government accountable. In this particular capacity also guys, they cannot hold any such position, they cannot hold any such kind of an office by which they will become obliged towards the government, because then again their independence will be lost. So the question comes that either if they are the part of executive or if they are the part of the legislature, they need not to hold any position by which their neutrality can be compromised, by which they can come under the obligation of the government, etc. So therefore, a concept comes, that is the concept of Office of Prophet. Now first of all, when we talk about the Office of Prophet has been mentioned. It has been mentioned in the article number 102 and article number 191 of the Indian Constitution. Now article 102, 191. Okay, article number 102 and 191, they talk that the MP and MLA can be barred from holding an office of profit, can be barred if they are holding from the office of profit. Now understand what is the meaning of this office of profit. So basically in this particular capacity, guys, there are no elaborate arguments provided in the Constitution of India for this particular thing. What has happened, there is a judgment of a Supreme Court that came. Now the Supreme Court judgment has provided that there are actually the 5 grounds. Supreme Court has provided that there are actually the 5 grounds, and if these 5 conditions are being met, then we can say that there is an office of profit that has existed. Okay, so guys, let's see these particular 5 grounds. Now please keep it in your mind that that basically, suppose what is office of profit? Suppose Mr. X is holding one particular position, one particular role. This role or this position is called as office of profit, and this office of profit is not allowed to be held by an MP or by an MLA. Why not allowed? Because I told you that if he is executive, then it is wrong, he has abused the powers. If he is a legislature, then he will not be able to hold the government accountable for their work, because he will become obliged to the government. Now, what are the 5 conditions under which an office of profit can be declared? Now, an office or a position will be office of profit if government is the appointing authority. Secondly, if the government has the power to terminate that appointment. If government can make an appointment to office, that office is office of profit. If government can terminate the person from that office is office of profit. Third, if government determines the remuneration. If government decide how much money is to be given. If the source of remuneration is from the government. And fifthly, if what is the power that is coming out of that position? Is there the power coming out of that position which will entitle a person to take certain decisions, the decisions which can impact the public good? Okay, so the powers, the remuneration, who can terminate, who can appoint, all these factors will determine an office of profit. Now guys, what has happened? Basically, when the chief minister of the Jharkhand, he was holding the portfolio of mines in 2021, he has given a mining lease to himself. Now in this particular capacity, now the Election Commission of India is investigating that whether giving mine to himself was an office of profit or not. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that he in a capacity of the minister has given the mines, so obviously the allocation of that position is given by the government. Okay, so these are certain things that have been there. Now guys, understand that the determination of this particular matter is not a very simple kind of a question. There have been many judgments into the Supreme Court into the past, because this office of profit thing has been appealed to the government. So every condition is different, every condition is unique. Fine. Now, if this office of profit will be declared, then he might be disqualified from his position. So this is, guys, entire thing is going on. However, up till now it is not clear. Still there is a suspense that whether he will be disqualified or not. So this is issue that is going on. Now that is a political article, whether he will be disqualified, who will come in his place. But this is the all academic issue that has been here, and you need to understand it. So that's all about this particular article, and now guys, we'll be moving to the next article. Okay, sir, can you please tell me what data to be remembered? Yes, obviously I will be telling you all that particular thing as the articles will be coming. Live timing, the timings for the live stream, dear, the timing for the live stream is around 6:15 a.m. in the morning. So sometimes it's 6:15, sometimes it's 6:30 a.m. It depends on the number of articles that are there, because I start making them from 4 a.m. in the morning. It takes some time. Okay, however, today we are a little bit late because in the morning Wi-Fi was not working. Okay, now, so this article, first of all, let's read the heading. Heading says that the Supreme Court to review the Pmla order on 2 aspects. Pmla stands for Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Okay, so guys, we'll see this particular article with respect to the GS paper number 3, issues of money laundering. GS paper number 3, issues of money laundering. Okay, as well as GS paper number 2, fine, issues of polity. We'll see this particular article. Now, recently what has happened, there was a judgment that came, that was the Vijay Madanlal Chaudhary versus Union of India judgment. Now guys, before going in this particular article, let's first of all discuss some of our background so that we can understand this particular article from the start. Okay, so basically we have one particular law, Prevention of Money Laundering Act. we have one particular law, that is the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Now guys, basically suppose there is a person, he has earned some money through criminal activities, for example some corruption, some drug trade, some kind of a crime, he has earned some dirty money. Now this particular dirty money he cannot use, because if he will use this particular dirty money, the police will come to know. Now guys, therefore what happens, this dirty money is cleaned, this particular dirty money is cleaned. Okay, why, how this particular dirty money is to be cleaned? Basically there is a process of money laundering. There is a process of money laundering. In the money laundering, that particular money will be presented that this money has actually been earned through the legitimate means. This particular person will say that okay, I have a one particular, let's say kind of a business, and from this particular business I have earned this particular money. He will convert this dirty money into the clean money, and the conversion of dirty money into the clean money is called as money laundering. Now guys, by this particular money laundering, what is happening, a large part of this particular laundered money is going to the terrorist. Okay, large part of this laundered money is being used. Okay, and actually at the end of the day, this money has been generated by the crime, so therefore this money is not a good kind of a thing. Now in order to curb this money laundering, there have been the international agreements among the countries. For example, there is the Vienna Convention is there, then there are the many other conventions. Financial Action Task Force, FATF, issues its advisories that what countries need to do in order to combat the money laundering. So since 1980s, India has signed many of the international conventions in order to combat the problem of money laundering. Now because India has signed the international conventions since 1980s, we were also required to make a specific law for the money laundering. And actually in 2002, we created this PMLA. PMLA was created in 2002. It stands for the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Now guys, under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act of 2002, what happened? Basically, Enforcement Directorate as an agency was designated, that if there is any case of the money laundering, Enforcement Directorate will investigate that particular case. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that suppose there is a particular general crime. For the general crime, the complaint is made to the police. For a general crime, the complaint is made to the police. But if there is a money laundering crime, that money laundering crime will not be taken by the police. That money laundering crime will be investigated by the ED. Now guys, when there is a general crime, there is an FIR that is filed. There is an FIR, fine, that is filed. Now it is mandatory that the FIR has to be given. It is mandatory that the FIR has to be given to the accused person. Okay. Now when the case is filed under the ED, under the PMLA, the ED registers ECIR, Enforcement Case Information Report, ECIR. Okay. ECIR, that is the Enforcement Case Information Report. It is filed by the ED. It is filed by the ED. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that actually there is one particular problem. Problem is that the copy of ECIR is not given to the person who is accused. Now what is the problem if this particular copy is not being given to the accused? The problem that comes here is that suppose a case is going on a person will defend himself, his advocate, his lawyer will defend himself. Now to defend themselves, they need to know that actually what are the charges that have been levied on them. If they don't know the charges, if they don't know what actually police is investigating about, they cannot justify themselves, they cannot protect themselves. So they want the copy of ECIR, but the ED was not giving the ECIR to the people who have been accused. Moreover guys, into the past, the political parties have provided this particular thing, that deliberately the opposition members are being targeted by the Enforcement Directorate. Okay, and basically even they are not being told that for what crime they are being investigated. Simply it has been said that you have done some money laundering and we are investigating, they have been arrested. Even it has been provided that when a person is arrested under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, then the condition of bail is very much difficult. Are you getting it or not? In order to get the bail, there is a twin test. There is the twin test that is to be passed. What is this twin test? A particular person need to convince the judiciary that he has not he need to convince that prima facie, just a minute. Okay, so guys, just a minute, I think the screen got blank. Just give me 1 minute. Okay, okay, just I think today's there is some okay, there is no screen. Fine. So I don't know what happened here. Okay, so today's day is apparently not good for our newspaper analysis. Okay, just let me try once again. Okay, guys, just give me 30 seconds. I'll be restarting my device, because if I'll exit from this particular software, then this particular stream will end. So only one option I have, that is to restart the device. Okay, so just give me 10-20 seconds. I don't know why this particular screen got blank. It is for the first time this issue is happening. So let's try our luck. We'll restart the device and we'll see that. Okay, so I'm waiting for it to be getting on restart. Okay, chalo guys, meanwhile chalo, we can take some of your doubts, use this particular time. Okay, let's use this particular time. Okay, sir, explain factors once again. Okay, Nandan Jagannath, dear, I think you are asking the factor of office of profit. So there are the 5 conditions that have been given, that who appoints, who terminates, who decides remuneration, what power comes. If government decides, if government terminates, if power is being given, then that is office of profit. Okay, let's try, fingers crossed. Okay, okay, so we got lucky. First we got unlucky, then we got lucky. Okay, fine. So there's one more question, sir. Please do video on Sunday also. Ashok, देखो दो चीजें हैं Sunday. First of all, please, I have said many number of times, FOMO is not something that is required. Fear of missing out. Please keep Sunday for your revision. Okay, please keep Sunday for your revision. 99% of UPSC aspirants, they want to read 4 newspapers in one day, but then they'll not read the newspaper for 10 days. You getting it or not? One thing. Second thing is that you might be seeing that we don't do passive newspaper reading here in the classes. My effort is that to give you the quality content, and for that I need to do the research for that particular thing. Now on usual days and even on Sunday I have the classes. Okay, so I need some extra time so that I can deliver you on that particular thing. So for that research, it needs a kind of an effort, it needs a time. On screen it is 1 hour. Okay, behind the screen there are many hours for that particular thing. Okay, and Sunday I want you to, that you should revise the things in the past. Okay, fine, chalo, let's do this particular thing. Let's start again, coming back. Okay, fine. So we were discussing before this video went blank, that in the ED, in the cases of the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, ED files the case, and many number of times it has been said that ED is targeting the people for political reasons. Now this particular thing happened. I was also telling you that actually there is the bail, which is also very much difficult to get once a person has been arrested under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. There was a twin test that is to be passed before getting a bail. Now what was that twin test? I was taking that, telling you that particular thing. So twin test means that there are actually 2 conditions. Condition number one, that a person has, the judiciary is to be satisfied that a person has not committed a crime. Condition number 2, then that when he will be on the bail, he will not do any crime. These are 2 conditions. Now these 2 conditions are very high conditions. Is it clear or not? That is also. Now moving on in this particular direction. So as this particular issues came, what happened? The political parties, they approached the Supreme Court. And in the Supreme Court, they challenged the validity of the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, as well as they also challenged the powers of the ED Enforcement Directorate. Okay, and the Supreme Court gave the judgment also. In this particular thing, Supreme Court gave the judgment also. What was the judgment? Judgment was the Vijay Madanlal Chaudhary judgment. Vijay Madanlal Chaudhary judgment. Now, before going in this, I'll explain you that what this particular judgment was all about. Now, in the judgment, it was provided by the Supreme Court, number one, that the offense of money laundering is heinous crime similar to the terrorism. So money laundering is similar to terrorism. Second thing that the Supreme Court provided here is that basically in this particular act there will be the okay, so the Supreme Court provided this particular thing that there will be the reverse burden of proof. There will be the reverse burden of proof. Now, what is this reverse burden of proof? It is a very important kind of concept. Now, guys, understand this particular thing. Basically, by default, a person is assumed to be innocent. A person is okay. Guys, again, I think this screen went blank. Okay, I don't know why this issue is coming today. It has never happened. Okay, I am doing this newspaper analysis from past 3 years. Okay, again it came back. Fine. Now, so I was explaining you this particular concept of reverse burden of proof. Now, what's this particular concept of reverse burden of proof? Let's understand this. So basically, guys, suppose there is a person and this particular person has been accused that he has done some particular crime. Now, guys, by default, this particular person will be believed to be innocent, and it will be the responsibility of a police that police has to prove that this particular person has done a crime. So the burden of proving the crime is on police. This is the normal condition. So burden of proving the crime is on police. This is the normal condition. Now, then the another condition comes is the reverse burden of proof. Reverse burden of proof. Now, reverse burden of proof means that by default it will be believed that the person is guilty, and now the person has to prove. He is not guilty. So originally person is believed innocent and police has to prove is guilty, but in reverse burden of proof, person will be believed to be guilty. And the person himself has to prove that he is not guilty. Now, in the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, there is a reverse burden of proof. It means that the person who is being investigated under the PMLA by the ED, that person has to prove that he is not guilty. He has to bring the evidence. That was the thing. Now, this particular provision of reverse burden of proof was also challenged into the Supreme Court. In the Vijay Madanlal Chaudhary judgment, Supreme Court said that this particular provision is valid. There is no problem. It will stay. This thing happened. Then, guys, stringency into the granting bail under the act is legal. Okay, so I explained you just few minutes back twin test condition. So that they said that this twin bail condition, twin test condition is valid. Then again the issue of ECIR came. I have also explained you ECIR also few minutes back. ECIR, I told you that it is a report where all the charges which have been levied, they are written. Now ECIR was not given to the people who were arrested, and this was challenged. The Supreme Court said that okay, no problem, you don't want to give ECIR, no need to give ECIR. Statements made to ED are considered admissible. If you say anything, ED can use that particular thing against you. Okay, then this was thing, the attachment of property. Okay, so if a person earned some property by the dirty money, laundered money, that property can be attached. And then there was one more very big question that was raised. Now guys, see, over the years what has happened, the amendments have been brought in PMLA. Now these amendments have been brought by the money bill. But you know that money bill, in the money bill, these legislative issues or these common issues cannot be brought. So a question was asked that okay, bringing amendment through the money bill, was it correct in the PMLA? Supreme Court has not given decision on this particular matter. Supreme Court had said that okay, we will tell this particular thing laterwards. This particular thing, the Supreme Court had said that it will be decided laterwards by a larger bench. A larger bench will decide. So all these particular things have happened in the past with respect to the money laundering. Now guys, this entire was actually the background of this particular article. If you don't know this particular background, then you might not be able to understand the gravity of this particular issue. So this was the entire background, and once you have understood this particular background, then only we can understand that okay, what this article is talking about. Now guys, understand that Supreme Court now after this particular judgment, this judgment was criticized a lot. There were the review petition that was filed into the Supreme Court. It was said that okay, you had not given a good judgment. Actually, the people are being harassed and the political misuse is happening. Now therefore Supreme Court has now said that okay, we will review this Prevention of Money Laundering Act, we will review our order on the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, and they have said that actually okay, we are going to review two things. So I have just explained you here all the matters that came, all the things that came in the Vijay Madan Lal. So they said that we'll review two things out of that. What they are going to review? They said that we'll review this ECIR provision. So I told you that the copy of the enforcement case information report, that is equivalent of FIR, that ECIR was not given. So they'll say that okay, we'll see this ECIR, that whether it should be given or not. And second, the reverse burden of proof. So they said that okay, we will see this particular thing also, that the reverse burden of proof, it is not violating the fundamental right of the accused people. Their right, Article 20, Article 22, Article 21, all these fundamental rights are not being violated. So they are now going to review. And guys, once the Supreme Court review will come, we'll see that what has happened. So guys, now you see the newspaper article was of 2 lines. Okay, but the background is something which is the big one. So basically I always advise you that follow newspaper regularly. If you are watching video, watch it regularly. Why? Because after a period of time, as you'll know this background, you will be becoming more and more comfortable in newspaper. Fine. And then the confidence will come. Now moving to next article. So guys, here we have taken 2 articles. One article has been taken from the business, the economy page, and the second article has been taken from the editorial section. Now guys, the first article is talking about that the bank credit growth accelerated to 14.2% in the quarter ended in June. So basically, this particular article we are going to use with respect to the GS paper number 3, issues related to the Indian economy, as well as banking. So Indian economy and banking will use this particular article. Now guys, before going in this particular article, I would tell you some of a background. So guys, the background goes like this, that actually when the lockdown started, COVID-19 pandemic came, at that point of a time, economic activities declined too much. And as the economic activities declined too much, there was a kind of a recession type of situation that was developing. In this particular background, the Reserve Bank of India came, and Reserve Bank of India tried that okay, more and more money need. Now government and RBI both came, and there was a kind of an attempt that more and more money needs to be pumped into the economy. Now government can pump money by doing expenditure, by giving direct transfer to the people. Okay, for example, they can give you the pension, they can invest into the infrastructure, revenue expenditure they can increase. So government can do that particular thing. And RBI, what it did, it basically asked the banks that you please provide more credit to the people, so that people use that credit for consumption, they use that credit for business, they use that particular credit for some other kind of a thing. So basically what we were doing, this is, we were trying to provide more and more credit. Okay, that was an attempt that was done. We call such kind of thing as fiscal stimulus. We call it as giving a fiscal stimulus to economy. Now guys, in order to promote more and more credit growth for a considerable period of time, Reserve Bank of India even did not increase the repo rate. And when the repo rate was not increased, the banks also did not increase their interest rates. So people took more credit. Now guys, the results in this particular direction has come. So what has happened? Basically, the RBI has released its report. Okay, RBI has released its report, and RBI's credit growth report provides this particular thing, that in India the credit growth has accelerated to 14.2%. So credit growth has happened. Now people are taking more loan. And as they are taking more loan, obviously they will be using that particular money for consumption, and that particular thing will increase the aggregate demand. I take loan, I use that money, I will raise demand. So what will happen when everybody will raise demand? The aggregate demand will be increased. By that particular aggregate demand, what will happen? The economic activities will rebound. So credit growth has been has increased, and credit growth is not there for only few sectors or only few type of people have taken the loan. No, the people in rural areas, semi-urban areas, urban areas, metropolitan areas, all the places credit growth has increased. Even in this particular capacity, it has been said that public sector banks, private banks, foreign banks, RRBs, okay, small finance banks, everybody is disbursing the loan, and the credit growth has increased to 14.2%. Moreover, the Reserve Bank of India report has also provided this particular thing, that the share of the current account and the saving account is increasing into the total deposit, Now guys, see, when we talk about the total deposit, listen this particular thing. Fine, suppose there is a person, okay, now when he wants to deposit the money in the bank, there could be the two type of deposits that are there. There are the fixed deposits, okay, there are the demand deposits, okay, and then there are the term deposits, the demand deposits and the term deposits. Demand deposits are those deposits which you can withdraw whenever you want. And when we talk about the demand deposits, there is the saving account and then there is a current account. Now guys, the current account is for business. Let's say that you have a shop. On your shop every day a lot of cash is coming, you'll deposit that particular cash, but you'll be withdrawing that particular cash also, because you also need to make payments. So there is a current account that is for business, and then there are the saving accounts in which we deposit our money, we can withdraw it. And then there is a term deposit. In the term deposit there are the FDs, fixed deposits. Now guys, when we talk about the deposits that have been made into the bank, larger money lies into the term deposit, that is the fixed deposit. But guys, now the RBI report says that actually the current account deposits and the saving account deposits, okay, demand deposits, their ratio into the total deposit is increasing. It provides that now their ratio is around 44.5%. So guys, it used to be around 40% 5-6 years back. Now it has increased to 44.5%. So basically the ratio of the current account and saving account into the total deposit is increasing. Moreover guys, the report has also provided one more fact. Okay, number one, credit growth is increasing. Number two, the CASA, current account saving account ratio is increasing. Number three, they have also provided this particular thing, that actually the deposit are less in proportion to the credit that is being taken by the people. So guys, basically in comparison to the growth that has happened into the credit, that the similar growth has not happened into the deposit. Deposits have increased, but not by that particular pace as the credit growth has been there. So because of that particular thing, a credit to deposit ratio is been on the rise. It means that now people are taking more credit, but the deposit is less, so credit to deposit ratio is increasing. So all these particular things have come. Now guys, with respect to the banking, there is one more data that has been taken from the editorial page. Now this particular data, it is talking about that whether the government should privatize the banks or not. Now understand, this particular article will also be coming in the GS3 economy and the banking. Now first of all, what's the context of this particular article? So the guys, context goes like this, that basically what has happened, the government, for example, in the budget speech, the finance minister had announced the plan to privatize the two state-owned banks. Two of the state-owned banks will be privatized. Moreover guys, in this particular capacity, there is a lot of articles that have been written that the government should privatize the banks or not. In this particular direction, recently into the RBI bulletin, a particular article, that is the privatization of public sector banks and alternative perspective, this article was published. Now see, you don't need to remember this particular title, okay, that what this was the name of article. No, not at all important for UPSC examination. Just we can use this particular data. Now how we can use this particular data? Understand this particular thing. Suppose a question is coming onto the privatization of the public sector banks. Now guys, today obviously if a question is coming, you need to write in both sides. But when you are writing that government should not privatize the public sector banks, you need to substantiate those particular points with some data, and this data is important. So just you can simply provide that the data was published in RBI bulletin. Simple. Data was published into the RBI bulletin. Now what is this particular data? Now first data is with respect to the rural penetration. Now the data provides this particular thing, that actually the rural penetration of the public sector banks is actually more. The data provides that 60% of the public sector bank branches are into the rural and the semi-urban areas. Okay, so 33.4% of the branches are in the rural areas, and there 27.8% branches are into the semi-urban areas. In total, around 60% branches are into the rural and semi-urban areas. Now this particular thing thing is very important because it is promoting the financial inclusion. It is promoting the financial inclusion. Now guys, the idea of the financial inclusion, it provides this particular thing that every Indian needs to be provided in access to the bank account. They need to be provided an access to the insurance. They need to be provided access to some of the investing instruments and all those kind of things. The basic is bank account. So financial inclusion of the rural people don't happen because the banks are not there. However, public sector banks, they have a very big network into the rural areas. So public sector banks are very important. Fine. Then the next issue that comes here is that the rural lending. Now guys, lending to the agricultural farmers or lending to the people who are there into the rural areas, it is a very important thing. Now we have seen this particular thing that the public sector banks, they have provided more lending to the rural people who need a lot of money. Not a lot of money, but they need money for many purposes. For example, they need money to procure the seeds. They need money for inputs, okay, fertilizers. They need money for other inputs. Are you getting it or not? When the lean season is there, during the lean season, obviously today I sowed for example, wheat. Now the wheat will be harvested after few months. During this particular time, I also need to provide some inputs. So the loan money is needed. So there, the rural lending has been done substantially by the public sector banks. And here we can see that when we talk about the public sector banks, they have done substantial lendings in this particular direction. Okay, so 78%, 76%, 75%. Okay, lenders, 60% of the rural credit demand is being met by the public sector. Okay, in all the times, these blue ones, they are the public sector banks. Then the next is, basically the public sector banks have allocated more money to the agriculture sector as well as to the industry sector. So guys, these are the public sector banks and these are the private banks. In the public sector banks, we can see that their share to the agriculture sector has been high, their share to the industry has been high than the private banks. And then finally into the infrastructure. Now guys, the infrastructure, it is the backbone of Indian economy. If we have good infrastructure, we will have good economic growth. Now in this particular direction guys, the public sector banks contribution into the infrastructure lending has been higher than the private sector banks. So basically for the infrastructure growth, the public sector banks play a very, very important role. In this particular capacity, we can say that actually the public sector banks have helped at multiple fronts in the Indian economy. They have helped in dispensing the rural credit. Secondly, they have helped in the infrastructure. They have helped into the financial inclusion. Are you getting? So all these particular things are there. So guys, we will be using basically such kind of information in conjunction. So that is all about this particular article. I hope you understood it. And now we'll move to the next article. Okay, now we'll move to the next article. Okay, now guys, this particular article, this article has been taken from the editorial section, and this particular article, it's talking about a recent Tamil Nadu government's order which had come, where a glossary, a terminology for the people belonging to the LGBT community has been given. Now this particular article we'll see with respect to the GS paper number 2. Now just a minute. We'll see this particular article with respect to the GS paper number 2, social justice. GS paper number 2, social justice. Within the social justice, vulnerable sections of Indian society. Vulnerable sections of Indian society. We'll see this particular article. Now, let's discuss first of all the issues that are there, which you need for a background. So let's first of all see the background. Now, guys, when we talk about the LGBT, L stands for lesbians, G stands for gay, B stands for bisexuals, T stands for transgenders. Now guys, the lesbians are the women who have sexual preference towards the other women. Gays are the men who have the sexual preference towards other men. Then the bisexual are the people who have sexual preference towards both the gender. For example, a men will have sexual preference for men also and the women also. That is the bisexual. Then guys, there are the transgender. Now who are the transgender? Guys, transgender are the people whose gender and sex don't match. Now this particular concept is a very important concept for Indian society, GS paper number 1. So please listen very carefully that their gender and their sex don't match. What does it means? Listen. Basically guys, the sex is biological. Sex is biological, And when we talk about the gender is a sociological. Gender is a sociological. For example, guys, let's say that there was an individual that was born. Now basically this particular individual has one particular sex. That sex is, let's say, the male, or the sex could be a female. So there is a biological sex that is there onto the basis of the genitals that a person is born with, on the basis of the attributes of that particular person. A particular person has one gender, either male or female. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that we expect that the male will behave in a one particular way and the female will behave in another particular way. Is it clear or not? For example, when a male is there, we expect that the male needs to talk in a particular way, they needs to dress in a particular way, they needs to do particular type of work. Female, they need to dress in another way, they need to talk in some another way, they need to do some another kind of work. So we have basically created that, okay, male, listen very carefully, needs to behave like men. Male needs to behave like men, and the female needs to behave like women. Female needs to behave like women. Now guys, if the male is behaving like a man, very good. What has happened? His sex and the gender has matched. His sex and gender has matched. But sometimes this sex and gender will not match. What will happen? There is a male, but he feels more comfortable in being women. He feels more comfortable wearing the clothes which the women wear. He feels more comfortable in talking in the ways as the society thinks that the women should talk. Are you getting it or not? So here what has happened, basically the sex was of male, but the gender should be of men, but the gender which now this particular person is feeling comfortable is of women. So what has happened here, the sex and the gender did not got matched. These people are called as a transgender people. Are you getting it or not? Now guys, one more thing is there for academic clarity. There is one more person, that is intersex. Okay, now intersex, who are the intersex people? Intersex people are the one, abhi listen one thing, that there is no biological anomaly in these people, transgenders. Intersex are the people basically whose either the genitals are not properly developed. There could be a possibility that they might be having a discrepancy in their genitals. Okay, there might be some in the chromosomes, there might be some kind of a problem. So there is a biological aberration in the intersex, but not into the transgender. Now guys, normally we confuse transgenders as intersex, but intersex is different, transgender are different. So LGBT, okay, and I is there, QR are there who are questioning their identity. Okay, so we have the LGBT people. Now guys, when we talk about the LGBTs, okay, there was one particular section 377. Now the section 377 has actually criminalized the homosexuality. Section 377 has criminalized the homosexuality. So if a person is having the sexual relation with a person of same sex, it was criminalized by section 377. Now this particular section 377 was struck down finally. Earlier it was also done by the Delhi High Court, but again it came back. So finally the sections 2018 by the Navtej Singh Johar judgment, NSJ, Navtej Singh Johar judgment. And after that, the government has repeatedly provided that the people belonging to the LGBT community, they are to be provided dignities, they are to be provided their all the rights, and all such kind of things have been emphasized again and again repeatedly. Now guys, in this particular direction, one more development happened. What happened? The Madras High Court, it asked the Tamil Nadu government that Tamil Nadu government needs to come out with the dignified terms to address the people belonging to the LGBT community. Is it clear or not? People belonging to the LGBT community. Now guys, asexual word is written here. Asexual people are those who don't have any sexual preference. Fine, they don't have any sexual preference. That is the asexual. Now they basically, what has happened, Tamil Nadu government has now come out with a glossary as how to address these people in a dignified way. Okay, so they had come out these particular words. Okay, I am highlighting it, just you can read it. Okay, so all these particular words which I am highlighting in yellow, these are the words that they have announced for referring to the LGBT people. Now guys, this particular thing happened and it is a good thing. Even 2018 Navtej Singh Johar judgment that came, that judgment specifically talked about that dignity is to be restored and they are to be given the specific names. Now guys, in case, one particular thing I am telling you, in case if you don't come from the Tamil Nadu, fine, you might be finding little bit different in remembering these names. Are you getting it or not? If that is the case, no need to remember the name. Okay, you don't need to mug up that, okay, what was that name? No, that is not needed. Now understand this particular thing, that basically the Madras High Court, it has acknowledged that the social sanction is a paramount importance to lead a life of choice. Are you getting? Giving a social approval is a very much importance. Are you getting? Restoring the dignity of a person is very much important to live a life, meaningful life, a life of meaningful choices. Now understand, basically this particular, basically the Madras High Court has also announced some of the guidelines for the police. For example, the police needs to be sensitive while they are dealing with the LGBT people. Social welfare ministries need to come out with the specific programs, specific funding is to be given for the welfare programs of the LGBT people. Okay, state and center needs to ensure the safety of the community. Are you getting? They needs to provide the safe environment. If there is any kind of a crime that is happening against them, then adequate action needs to be taken. Fine, police needs to be sensitized. Okay, all the related ministries needed to be very much sensitive. Then guys, it has been provided that basically the state and society, when we talk about the state means the basically the institution of state, which consists of the government and many other institutions. The state as well as the society mobilizes the traditional values. Okay, for example, society, if you see this particular example that we have discussed, society only had propagated this thing that if you are born as male, you have to behave like men. If you are born like male and you are behaving like women, this is not something accepted into the society. This is not acceptable. This is something which have been propagated by the society in a traditional sense. Now these particular things, at the end of the day, what happen? They bring some kind of a phobias also. For example, if you are a transgender people, it is something which is wrong. You cannot come out with such kind of an identity. So phobias, traditionalism, conservatism, all is propagated by the society. Are you getting it or not? Now the time has come that rather than these kind of things, we need to go for equal rights. Are you getting it or not? Fine, equal rights. Okay, Abhi, understand this particular thing, that actually there is one more issue. Okay, I'll be just explaining you. There are the sex reassignment surgeries. Now what was happening into the transgenders, guys? Again, please focus here, please focus very carefully. I told you that into the transgender people, they're the sex and they're the gender, they don't matches. Okay, their sex and gender don't match. For example, a person was male, but he feel more comfortable to be a woman. Okay, he dresses like a woman, he speaks like a woman as society says. Now this particular person can go for a sex reassignment surgery. For example, he can change his sex, and this particular person can change his sex and can become a woman. So what will happen? His gender was of women and now his sex will also become of women. So basically that anomaly that came in between, it got now removed. So sex reassignment surgeries are there. Now in the past, it has been seen that some of the states have pressurized the people of the transgender community that they mandatorily should go for the sex reassignment surgeries. It has happened. Many of the states it has happened. So basically it has been provided that Tamil Nadu, though it has come out with the name of a dignified list, but it should not force the children to go into the conversion therapy or should be thrown out of their homes for being different. This is also something that we need to focus upon. It is a choice of an individual. If you want to go for sex reassignment surgery, he or she might go, otherwise not. They should not be forced. Moreover, it has been provided that now the right activist should basically further work in this particular direction and needs to make sure that basically all the people, their dignity is being restored. Okay, fine. Right activists hope that the glossary is fluid because the conversion around gender and sexuality is evolving. Okay, many more new changes, many more new revelations are coming in this particular action. So this terminology needs to be fluid. It needs not to be very specific. Okay, then guys, it had been provided that we need to focus on the principle of Suya Maryadhai or the self-respect. Now the Suya Maryadhai or the self-respect has been the cornerstone of the Dravidian movement. So this particular idea, this particular motto needs to be carried forward. So that is all, guys, about this particular article. I hope that you have understood this particular article, and now we'll move to the next article. Freebie is a judicial lead and a multi-layered issue. Now guys, as newspaper comes every day, the freebie also comes every day, the freebie article comes every day, and I think that in total around 14 topics articles I have taken on the freebie. Now guys, even if you have done so much and if a question comes, I expect that you will write the best answer in the country. Okay, now freebie issue, this particular article will be seeing with respect to the GS paper number 2. Okay, so the issue of freebie will see with respect to the GS paper number 2, electoral reforms. Fine, electoral reforms, issues in Indian politics, GS paper number 2, electoral reforms, issue on the India politics. We'll see this particular article. Let's move in this particular thing. Okay, now see, freebies are judicial lead and a multi-layered issue. Basically, this particular background has been repeated so many of the times, but still guys, let's revise it. Okay, so basically I have told you this particular thing, that freebie, what is a freebie? Freebie is a irrational entitlement, irrational promise that is being promised by a political party to its voters, that if they will come into the power, they will give, for example, a suitcase, they will give, let's say, some jewelry, or let's say they will give a coffee set, okay, a dining set. These are the freebies that are often irrational promises that are made by the political party. Now guys, this particular freebie is putting the state government under a lot of debt, and according to a RBI report, approximately 15 lakh crore rupees debt is there with the state governments, and the state governments, because of the farm loan waivers, freebies that have given, this particular debt has increased a lot into the past few years. Now because of this particular freebie, the Prime Minister had referred to this particular freebie as the Revdi culture. Now I know that I have used this particular word many number of times, but what to do if the same articles are being repeated? Fine, we have to obviously see these things also. So the Prime Minister has referred to freebie as the Revdi culture. Okay, and after this, and as the Prime Minister referred to it as Revdi culture, asked the people that please the political parties should not go for giving too much of the freebies. Supreme Court also became very much alarmed by this particular issue of freebie, and the Supreme Court provided that we need to constitute an expert committee. We need to constitute an expert committee on this particular matter of freebie. Okay, and the Supreme Court had said that an expert committee under the expert members of Niti Aayog, Reserve Bank of India, Finance Commission, Law Commission, and some of the other expert members will be chosen, and they will be deciding that how this freebie culture can be curbed. Supreme Court has made this particular thing very clearly that we will not pass a law. The Parliament should debate this particular matter of freebie, whether they should be given or not. Now, this particular article guys say that okay, the freebies, when we are talking about it, okay, the freebies, they have been referred to as subsidies. These freebies have been referred to as subsidies, and it has been provided that these freebies are most of the times undesirable, and they contribute to the suboptimal outcomes of the economy. Now listen, if you are giving too much of subsidies, if you are giving too much of freebies, a lot of money is being wasted in that particular thing, and at the end of the day, productive investment in economy cannot be made. Clear? So it impacts the economy at some subatomic level. Now guys, it has been provided that actually when we use this particular word freebie, there is a very old confusion, okay, and this confusion is going on from so many of the days. How to make a distinction between the transfer payment, okay, that are made for the social welfare schemes, okay, and how to make a distinction between the freebie. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that sometimes even the welfare programs are called as freebie. For example, a food is being given to the children under the midday meal scheme, it is referred to as freebie. Education, subsidized education or free education is being given to the children, it is called as freebie. Actually, these are not freebies, these are the social welfare program, because when the children are being given the midday meal food, when the subsidized health education is being given, it will help the human resource, it will grow the human resource in the long term. So this is not actually a freebie. Okay, it is a social welfare. But how to make this particular distinction? A person can, there will be always a confusion between a freebie and a social welfare program. Okay, now guys, it has been provided that according to Agreement on Subsidies and Countervailing Measure, ASCM, now this particular agreement is under the World Trade Organization, WTO. So under this Agreement on Subsidies and Countervailing Measure, the definition of subsidy has been given. Is it clear? The definition of subsidy has been given. Now guys, it has been provided that the subsidy will be deemed What is a subsidy? Let's now listen very carefully this particular definition. Subsidy is any financial contribution by a government or public body where government involves a direct transfer of funds. Government direct gave you some fund, that is a subsidy. Or the or otherwise the government revenue is foregone or not collected. Two things: government has given you direct transfer. How? It sent some money in your account, it gave you some loan, it gave you some disbursement, it is a subsidy. Second, if some money was to be recovered from you, let's say you have to pay some tax, government said that okay, will not collect the tax from you, revenue is foregone, revenue is not collected, that is also a subsidy. So this is the subsidy. Guys, it has been provided. Subsidy can also be any form of income or price support that has been granted by the government. Okay. Now guys, basically the union budget comes every year and union budget uses this particular word subsidy. Now the union government word subsidy is based on this definition of subsidy given by the Agreement on Subsidies and Countervailing Measures. Okay. I'll just the government's definition of subsidy. Okay, now guys, government calls all those particular things subsidy where either government directly gave money or did not collected some kind of a revenue. Now guys, see, as the part of the tax policy, government is giving the special tax rates. For example, let's say that suppose the corporates, they have to give 18% tax, but government said that okay, if you let's say install your industry in some XYZ place, you will be given a special rate of concession. So the special tax rates are there, exemptions are being given, deductions are being given, rebates are being given, credits are being given. Okay, so in all of them, these are also called as the subsidies. They are also called as the tax preference. This is something that is happening. Now guys, the article says this particular thing, that when we are giving these tax concessions, when we are giving these subsidies, for example, government giving some subsidy, some rebate, it is for a specific purpose. For example, when government is giving a special tax rate, for example, normally corporate tax is 18%. If you install a industry in a backward region, you need to pay only 10% tax. So preferential subsidized tax rate has been given. Now by that particular thing, employment will be generated. So because of this particular thing, what happens, government has specific reasons and their preferences are given, tax concessions are being given by the government. Okay, now guys, it has been provided that actually market fundamentalists have always opposed the subsidies, as they say that these subsidies are the wasteful use of resource. But subsidies are not always the wasteful use of resource also, guys. Basically, it has been provided that actually what has happened, sometimes subsidies are given to incentivize a particular kind of an activity. For example, subsidies are being given to the corporate so that they can generate more employment. However, sometimes what has happened, government is giving the subsidy but is not paying any attention onto the under investment in some of the important development sectors. For example, guys, when we talk about the health, now for example, number one is health. In health, the GDP expenditure is not more than 1.5%. It has been 1.5%, less than actually 1.5% for so many of the years. Now, when we talk about the education, for education, there was a Kothari Commission that was established in 1966. Kothari Commission in 1966 recommended that the expenditure on GDP needs to be at least 6%. The expenditure on education, expenditure on education needs to be 6% of GDP. 6% of national income needs to be invested on education. But up till now, we are not contributing 6% of GDP on the education. Fine. So this is something that has happened. After that, crisis is going on in the agriculture. Why? Because there has been always under investment. Government has not provided the irrigation facilities properly to the every farm. Fine. Though basically government is running many of the schemes, for example, Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana. Okay, fine. All these particular programs, but still the investment has not been there. And now the government comes and give the subsidies or the freebies in order to make for whatever they have not been able to done in the past, to just make for the failures that have happened into the past. Now government is coming out with all these subsidies and all these particular issues. So that is all, guys, about this particular article. And now we'll move to the next article. Should India change its policy on the Rohingyas? Should India change its policy on the Rohingyas? Now guys, this particular article will be seen with respect to the GS paper number 2. GS paper number 2, India's refugee policy. India's refugee policy. And in GS paper number 4, applied ethics. GS paper number 4, applied ethics. Okay, so there the ethics of refugee ethics, will see this particular article. Now, before going in this particular article, guys, let's take some of the background. First of all, why this particular article has come in the news. So basically, recently what happened, Ministry of Urban Development recently Ministry of Urban Development, they issued one particular tweet, and in that particular tweet the ministry said that the Rohingya people will be accommodated, they will be given the EWS flats, fine economically weaker section flats in the Delhi. Moreover, it was said that the Rohingya people will also be provided protection, they will be provided all the basic amenities. This particular tweet was made by the Urban Development Ministry. Now guys, who are these Rohingyas people first of all, and then I'll tell you one more development that has happened in this particular direction. Okay, so who are the Rohingya people? Now, Rohingyas are the Muslim people. Rohingyas are the Muslim people who have lived in the Myanmar. In Myanmar, there is a Rakhine state, Rakhine region where they have lived. Now, guys, understand this particular thing that these Muslims, Rohingya Muslims in the Myanmar, they have been discriminated. Why? Because the majority of the people in the Myanmar, they follow Buddhism. So they say that the Muslims are the outsiders, and therefore there is a lot of discrimination, atrocities that has been carried against the Rohingyas in the past. And because of that particular thing, many of the Rohingyas have fled to Bangladesh, some have come to India, some have went to Thailand, okay, and many other countries also the Rohingyas are fleeing. Now, in this particular capacity, the Rohingyas are living in India also. They have earlier tried to live in Rajasthan, Haryana. Now they are living in Delhi in one of a camp. So for their rehabilitation, this particular ministry issued a notice. However, what happened? After a few hours, the Ministry of Home Affairs said that there is no plan to give any flat to the Rohingyas. Rather, wherever they are living right now, it will be converted as a detention center, and these people will be sent back to their own countries. Now, this article is talking about the Rohingyas. Should we change the policy on Rohingyas or not? Now, understand that, guys, when we talk about the Rohingyas, basically the article says that actually, see, first of all, India's track record in dealing with the refugee problem has been exemplary. India has always worked for the preservation of the Rohingyas' rights. Now it has been provided that, see, now the government is calling the Rohingyas as the illegal foreigners, and all those particular kind of things have happened. Now, first of all, guys, we have seen last year 2021 what has happened. The military has taken over in the Myanmar, and as the military has taken over in the Myanmar, there is even more targeted killing of the Rohingyas that has happened. United Nations has termed the killing of the Rohingyas as the genocide in the Myanmar, and because of that particular thing, they are now running to the another countries. In that capacity, they have come to the India also. Now, guys, it has been provided that basically last week marked 5 years since the big migration of the Rohingyas happened outside the Myanmar. They reached to the another countries. Now, understand, India's track record onto the refugee protection has actually been exemplary, the article says. It provides that we have given the refuge to many of the refugees in India, for example, the Tibetans. When after 1951, the Tibet was captured by the China, and when the Dalai Lama and the Tibetans came in India, we gave them the protection. Then Sri Lankans have been given protection, Afghans, Bhutanese people, okay. All have been given the refuge in India. So India's track record has been good. Now, guys, when we talk about the refugee, for the refugees, there is the United Nations Refugee Convention 1951. United Nations Convention on Refugees 1951, and there is United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees also. United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. Now, first of all, understand this particular thing that India has not signed this United Nations Refugee Convention of 1951, but still India's track record in dealing with the refugee people, their rights have been very much good. Okay, so India's approach has been humane. Now, guys, it is being said that right now what is happening, there is a government that is ideologically favoring to promote the rights of one particular religion. But in that capacity, many times the government passes certain references where the Rohingyas seems that they are being discriminated because Rohingyas are the Muslims. Now it is being provided that actually, guys, when we talk about the Rohingyas have faced world's worst atrocities. Okay. Now, further, it has been provided that when we talk about the Rohingyas are called also sometimes as the security threats. Okay, fine, they are the security threats. Now, it has been said that the Rohingyas are very much susceptible. They are very much inclined towards the terrorism. They can promote terrorism. They can promote the lawlessness in the country if they are allowed. So, in that particular capacity also, there have been the discrimination against the Rohingyas people in the past. Now, guys, moving on in this particular capacity, it has been said that, see, Rohingyas have been mistreated. right now presently the government having certain type of ideologies, but you cannot say that the India's entire track record in dealing with the refugees has been bad. We have dealt refugees very compassionately into the past. Now guys, it has been provided that even into the Europe and US also, the giving accommodation to the refugees have become a very big kind of a problem. Okay, now moreover, when we talk about India's conservation, India's fears, India's apprehensions are not unjustified, they are justified also. Why? Because guys, India has always been impacted with the international Islamist terrorism. So therefore, India has done something like this. Moreover guys, when we talk about the India also has the threat. India has a major security interest into the Myanmar, and because we have a very important relation with the Myanmar, we cannot outrightly go and oppose the Myanmar also, that okay, whatever you are doing, you are wrong and all those things. Because guys, understand this particular thing, that see, right now into the Myanmar there is a military. If we will become too much tough against the government of Myanmar, the military of the Myanmar, they might go and might be inclined towards the China, and China might use the Myanmar. Guys, we have a very long boundary of India with the Myanmar, so basically that particular thing might be used by the China against India. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that Myanmar, when we talk about it, Myanmar, in the Myanmar, the ethnicity has always been a sensitive issue. The people of the Myanmar, they have always been very much strict with respect to their ethnic issues, their culture. And guys, actually, there are still the people into the Myanmar who are spreading this particular xenophobia. The people are there into the Myanmar, basically who themselves have not been able to accommodate the Rohingyas in their own country. Fine. Now moving on. Okay, by the way guys, the xenophobia means a strong dislike towards the people of one particular race, one particular people from one particular country. That is a xenophobia. So into the Myanmar there have been a strong xenophobia, okay, traditionally, and by that particular thing against the Rohingyas also, that particular thing is getting manifested. Now basically the question comes guys, that actually even the people, even the Myanmar, even the people there, fine, even the international standards, they are committed with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, United Nation Declaration of UN Declaration of, just a minute, I'll erase that. Fine. Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Now guys, this Universal Declaration of Human Rights was signed in 1948, and under this Universal Declaration of Human Rights, there are certain basic human rights principles that are there. Then there is the United Nations Refugee Convention. Okay, now guys, there is a question that you need to follow at least the Human Rights Convention and need to provide at least some minimum safeguard to the refugees who are Rohingyas. Now in this particular capacity guys, the human history has been the history of migration. Okay, all the migration that has happened, it has its own kind of a challenges, all kinds of troubles. Even today the Rohingyas are coming in India has its own challenges, own troubles. Okay, you should not judge India only onto the basis of today what India is doing, but India should be judged in the past how it has dealt with the refugee problem, and there the India's credentials have been positive. That is all about this particular article, and now we'll move to the next article. Now Kerala gets its right in 2022. Now guys, this particular article mentions a lot of graphs etc. have been mentioned. Now guys, understand what this particular article is talking about. This article is talking about the rainfall patterns into the Kerala. Is it clear or not? So this article is talking about the rainfall patterns into the Kerala, that how the rain this particular year has been different. Then this particular article is talking about that what is the level into the different storage. Okay, Kundala, Iduki, Sholayar. Okay, fine. So what have been the water storages, what have been the rain. Now this particular data and number specifically to the Kerala has been given. Not important article guys with respect to your exam. So sometimes there will be the articles which will look very much tempting, they have a lot of details, a lot of data, graph etc. But guys, always understand the context is actually very much important. So therefore for exam, much relevant substance which can be used in exam is not there, because the question specific to states are not being asked. In general, Indian monsoon is a topic, but monsoon and the rain in one specific district not important. Moving to the next article. Labor codes empower the worker, Prime Minister. Okay, so guys, what has happened recently, the Prime Minister had made an address. Okay, he has made an address at the National Labour Conference. National Labour Conference. And in this National Labour Conference, he has referred that how the labor codes are empowering the workers, how they are empowering the industries, how they are empowering all the stakeholders in this particular capacity. Now, we will be seeing this particular article with respect to the GS paper number 3. GS paper number 3, issues related to the Indian economy. GS paper number 3, issues related to the Indian economy. Okay, now moving on. Basically, in this particular capacity, first of all, some of a background I would like to tell. Background. Now guys, the background goes like this, that when we talk about the labor has been a subject that is mentioned into the concurrent list of the Indian Constitution into the 7th schedule. Now in the 7th schedule, we have 3 lists, that is the union list, state list and the concurrent list. In the union list, only the central government can make the law, parliament can make the law. In the state list, the state legislative assemblies can make the law, and into the concurrent list, both the parliament as well as the state legislative assemblies can make a law. Now when we talk about the subject of the subject of labor is in the concurrent list. It means that both the center and the state governments can make the law. Now guys, on the labor, I tell you that there are more than 100 laws that are there in different states, different parliament, but there are the 29 laws onto the labor which are particularly the most important laws. Now guys, when these 29 laws are there, okay, understand this particular thing, compliance, following all these 29 laws, it becomes a tedious task for the industries. So what happened, government as a part of their labor reforms, had decided that these 29 labor laws will be converged into the 4 labor codes. These 29 labor laws will be converged into the 4 labor codes, and these are the 4 labor codes that came in existence. Code on wages. Then the second is the code on industrial relations. Then the third is the social security code. Then the fourth is occupational safety, health and the working condition code. So the 29 laws onto the labor got converged into these 4 labor codes. Codes on wages, it talks about the minimum wages that can be given. Industrial relation code, it talks about the relation between the employer and employee, strikes, when strikes can be made, when cannot be made. Social security, for example, all the social securities, insurance for example is to be given, if pension is to be given, if provident fund is to be given, what will be the conditions of all those particular kind of things, it has been provided. Now the fourth is occupational safety, health and working condition code. Okay, so occupational safety, while they are working into the industry, their health, their safety, their working conditions, all these particular things are being provided. Fine. So basically in the National Labour Conference, fine, the Prime Minister has mentioned about the 4 labor codes. So basic messages that have been given by the Prime Minister will understand all these particular thing. Now first of all, the Prime Minister had provided this particular thing, that there is increasing scope of the platform and the gig economy and the online facility. So he has provided that the gig and platform economy are increasing. Now for your UPSC examination, what do you mean by this gig economy and platform economy? So guys, the gig economy refers to the section of economy where the relation between the employee and the employer are short terms, freelancing relations. Okay, that is the gig sector. Now guys, understand this particular thing. For example, I'll give you one example. Suppose let's say you are a video editor. Okay, I had given you the same example earlier also. Let's say you are a video editor, and let's say that there is a YouTuber. Now this YouTuber wants a video to get edited. Now you can go to this particular YouTuber, you will edit his YouTuber's video, and in that particular respect he will make you some payment. So payment will be made on the basis of the project. On the project basis the payment will be made. Now obviously it is not a long term or a permanent employment, it is a per project employment that is there. So basically guys, the gig economy is that particular section of economy where basically the employer and employee relations are not long term. The employer and employee relations are on to the basis of the contract. Okay, this is the gig economy. Then there is one more, that is the platform economy. Now guys, basically the gig economy can operate through platforms. Now what is the meaning what is the platform economy? Now guys, today there are certain online platforms, online apps that have come, and these online apps and these online platforms are providing the employment. For example, there is a Swiggy. Now guys, let's say that if let's say I wanted to find some employment, what I can do, I can deliver the food for the Swiggy. So what can happen, the Swiggy has created one particular platform by which I am getting an employment. Now it is a gig type of employment. Why? Because let's say I want to work for one day, I'll work one day in Swiggy, next day I might not work. Fine. The Uber, Ola, Swiggy, Urban Company, all these are the platforms. Okay, these are the platform. So the economy which is being the section of economy, okay, where these platforms are playing an important role, it has become today important. So platform and gig economy today has become important one. Then the Prime Minister has provided that today the fourth industrial revolution is coming. We need to take advantage of the fourth industrial revolution. Now what is the fourth industrial revolution? Guys, fourth industrial revolution is upcoming revolution. For example, what is happening now? The artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, integration of internet with the day-to-day objects. So artificial intelligence, self-driving cars. Is it clear or not? Automation, machine learning, all these particular things that are coming, we call it as a fourth industrial revolution. So in the fourth industrial revolution, India can play an important role. Then Internet of Things. Guys, what is Internet of Things? I have given you example yesterday also. Internet of Things is the integration of the internet with the daily objects. Okay, and then the Prime Minister had provided this particular thing that actually the women's labor force participation also needs to be emphasized. Female labor force participation. Now guys, in this particular capacity, if I tell you the female labor force participation rate is at 25.1%. The data has been given by the periodic labor force survey 2020-2021. Female labor force participation rate is at 25.1%. This is very low. Are you getting it or not? It needs to be increased more. So basically there have been the countries, for example, the Japan, Scandinavian countries, they specifically reaped their women labor force participation. So female labor force participation rate is needed to be focused. So these are some of the key takeaways that have been given by the Prime Minister. So guys, these are all the messages that came. So this is the entire expanded and the analytical version of this article. Now we'll move to the next article. Okay, there's one question. Sir, what should be the way forward for Rohingyas? Guys, Harsh, see, when you talk about the Rohingya issue, understand this particular thing that India needs to be considerate for the Rohingyas, but at the same time, national interest of India is also very much important. So neither you will say that, okay, whatever government has done is completely wrong, or neither you will completely support. So there needs to be a middle option for that thing. Now, aircraft carrier Vikrant to be commissioned. Aircraft carrier Vikrant to be commissioned. Now, guys, understand this particular thing that India, okay, before going in this particular article, I will give some background. Now, this particular article could be important for your prelims. Fine. Indigenization of science and technology, indigenization of defense, GS paper number 3, we can use this particular article. Now guys, understand this particular thing. Basically, India, now some of the background, India is aspiring to be the Blue Water Navy. Blue Water Navy. Now what is the Blue Water Navy? Blue Water Navy is a navy which has its presence in almost all the major oceans, Atlantic, Pacific, Indian. So all the major oceans, if a navy can be present, okay, that particular navy is called as the Blue Water Navy. Now guys, one particular thing, if you want to become a superpower, you want to have a Blue Water Navy. USA has a Blue Water Navy. Now India is aspiring to be a Blue Water Navy into the coming times, because guys, the 21st century is the century of Asia, and in this 21st century, which is the century of Asia, India will play a very important role. So guys, India wants to be a Blue Water Navy. Moreover guys, understand that India wants to exert a dominance into the Indian Ocean region. We have even come out with the Indian Ocean strategy. Understand this particular thing guys, that actually India has become the partner under the quadrilateral security dialogue. Into the quadrilateral security dialogue, 4 countries have come together, that is India, US, Australia and Japan. All these particular countries, what they want to make sure that the Indian Ocean needs to be the zone of free movement, rule based order, all needs to be there. So Indian Ocean strategy of India is that number one, there needs to be the rule based order, but at the same time India needs to be a dominant country into the Indian Ocean. All these particular things need that we need to have a successful navy. Though we have a successful navy, but basically the vessels, the aircraft carriers into the navy needs to be more and more. Now guys, understand that the aircraft carrier plays a very important role. aircraft carrier plays a very important role. Now guys, when the surveillance is to be done into the ocean, there are the aircrafts. Okay, now guys, the aircrafts, their range is very much limited. Okay, now guys, basically when we talk about the aircraft carriers, these aircraft carriers are the floating bases of a particular country. Now what can happen, the aircrafts, they can land on this particular aircraft carrier, they can refuel here, they can get here serviced and all those things. So we need to have aircraft carrier. Now guys, what happened, basically India's legacy aircraft carrier, that is the INS Vikrant, has been decommissioned, and now we are making our own aircraft carrier. Indigenously we are making the aircraft carrier. So basically guys, in this particular capacity, what has happened, first indigenously built aircraft carrier Vikrant will be commissioned now very soon. So aircraft carrier Vikrant will be commissioned on September 2. So this aircraft carrier Vikrant, which is the indigenously constructed aircraft carrier, it was in news that it will be decommissioned before 2022, and now it is going to be decommissioned. Now when we talk about the aircraft carrier INS Vikrant, it has been built at the Cochin Shipyard Limited. Some of the basic information for prelims: built at Cochin Shipyard Limited. Okay, it is right now going into the sea trials, and it was earlier likely to be commissioned by 2023, but now it will be commissioned on September 2, 2022. This is a kind of a progress. Then guys, understand this particular thing, just a minute. Okay, now the construction of the INS Vikrant has propelled India to in the club of countries which have the state-of-the-art aircraft carriers. Okay, I have told you that there are very few countries which have blue water navy. Now India is moving towards that particular path. Now this particular warship can operate MiG-29K fighter jets, Kamov-31 helicopters, MH-60R multi-role helicopters. Fine. Then after that, advanced light helicopters. Fine, which are being manufactured into the India indigenously. All of them can be catered onto the INS Vikrant. So guys, this is the development in this particular capacity. So guys, I hope that you have understood this particular article. So guys, that is all about this particular article. And okay, so Pooja Mishra, sir, please address my doubt. Okay, Pooja, what's your doubt? Please tell me. Earlier also there was your question that came. Okay, how to make notes of current affairs. Guys, understand this particular thing, that every day I am giving the current affairs synoptic notes. Beyond this current affairs synoptic notes, you don't need to go, because into current affairs synoptic notes, all the attachment is being given already to you in a simplified manner. Moreover, apart from the synoptic notes, if you want, you can refer to the monthly magazine, fine, that we are releasing. Okay, so every month we release a synoptic notes monthly magazine, where in a handwritten format the notes are being released. So just follow that. Okay, beyond that no need to go. Okay, because then focus on more on your current also, optional also. Okay, so that is all guys about this. Fine, so we'll be meeting tomorrow. Today we got little bit late because the Wi-Fi issue was there in the morning. However, tomorrow we'll be meeting at the same time every day, that we meet around 6:15 a.m. in the morning. So guys, my idea is that you should get your newspaper analysis before you get the copy of your newspaper. Okay, so that was all about that. Now we'll be meeting tomorrow. Till then, please take care of yourselves. Thank you so much. And guys, one more thing, please show a little bit big heart, and if you like, please do hit the like button. I don't think that it takes